How's that for square? Can't argue with that. G'day, Greg Miller from The Joy of Wood. I'm just messing around here using the shooting board on this, which I've produced for many years. It's a combination shooting board and bench hook. So this side for sawing, this side for planing. Let me show you how we do that. It's a very useful tool. The bench hook is a traditional thing for protecting the bench and securing the wood so that when you're sawing it, it doesn't move. So call a bench hook because you can just hook it on like that. So what I'm going to do is grab myself a nice saw and a piece of wood. So I've got a line drawn here. If I want to cut this across here, I'm going to push this up against that upstand. And by leaning on it there, I'm actually holding the bench hook against the bench, and I'm also holding my piece of wood nice and still. And I've got room there to get that finger in there so I can control exactly where that's going to cut. And away we go. All the good sawing techniques of keeping the eye directly above the saw. Now, I've done a cut there. You can see where the pencil line is. That cut is beautifully straight all the way around, nice and square. But if I wanted to clean that up or I needed to adjust it, that's where I'm going to turn over to the other side, to the shooting board side. Put it this way around. Now you see this has a little track here for the plane to sit in. So all I've got to do is put that up there and just gradually feed it in. I can take that right back to the line or adjust as I need to. Now this is set up so that the upstand here is exactly 90 degrees to the track. The secret with this is making sure you don't push this out here, because then you'll only make that rounded. What you want to do is have it only just hanging over the edge. This hand's job is to keep that pushed across there, so I've got fingers in the bottom of the plane. Up there, I'm using a block plane for this because they are beautiful on end grain. So if I've done that right, you can see how nice and clean that is there. So that should give me perfectly 90 degrees here and perfectly 90 degrees in there. So when you're making box components or furniture components, this is the way to get that absolutely beautiful. Here's another rough end here. That's using a really nice low angle block plane. I can also use a good old-fashioned block plane in here. It works the same. The important thing is you bring it back so that the blade comes off the end of the piece of wood and then goes past the piece of wood there, and you don't bring it back here because as you'll feed it in, that will hit right there. So just that nice short little punching action, pushing it through. If I haven't got a block plane, I can also use one of these. This is a little bit trickier. But by holding it with wrapping 3 fingers around the handle, thumb and index finger up in here, I can also punch that through. Now, this is easy enough for me to do. When we're working with kids, or you're still getting a handle on this, if you have the luxury of a vise, you can use the vise. This will just hook nicely onto the edge of the kitchen table. If you've got a vise, lock that into there, and then you can be a little bit more focused on doing this part of it. See where my eye is? Directly above where the action is. So that's just cleaning that up. You see we get rid of all the saw marks, get that nice and cleaned up there. So if I'm working with kids and we're sawing, what we'll often do, this is the sawing side, is we will get our piece of wood here and we'll use one of these cramps. Put it on there like that. It's like an extra hand. They're still going to hold this down, but they don't have to be focused about holding this still because everything's locked together. Then it's just a case of coming in there, and the focus is on getting the good sawing technique without having to worry about holding everything down. That works really well. But wait, there's more. What about this? You've got some other jobs to do. Chopping a mortise. You can use the upstand here as a helper. By putting that into there, I can come in here with my chisel and I can push against there, and that will hold that nicely. If I wanted to, I can always turn it around this way so that I can really keep that back of the chisel there firmly up against the surface. So this is really good. You can see there's some chisel marks in here where people have been chopping down into it. Again, it protects the bench or protects your kitchen table so you don't get any damage. But wait, there's more. What about using this as a protective surface to protect the bench or the kitchen table while you're drilling holes? So here's a couple of places I want to drill some holes. Now I will commonly do drilling like this, holding my elbow on there and putting the piece in, and you notice where the eye is. If your eye's in the line of this, you're more likely to get it perpendicular. If your eye's out here, you can't actually see where it's going. So down we go, and I can drill that. Another way of doing it, that's easy enough for me with a long arm, is I can push this up against here, put my cramp on, and that gives me two hands to get that right where I want it. So we have the sacrificial surface here that protects the table or the bench and holds the piece of wood nice and firmly so that I can drill my holes. What a wonderful device, eh? Aren't they fantastic? So what about when you've got an angle cut like this to do? All right, let's do that. So when you've got a cut like this, the body position is always really important. So it means I'm going to stand over here. I'm going to saw in this direction. I'm going to cut just outside the line so I can still see my line, which is what you would normally do anyway. While I'm doing this, I'm looking back here. So I've got my body right across here so that the saw and the arm is all moving in a nice straight line. And through we go. Okay, now you can see the pencil line there, very easy to see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shoot it to clean that up and get rid of the saw marks. So I turn it over to the shooting board side. I'm going to set this up so that that is parallel to this edge. When I push the plane up against the edge, push that up to there so my pencil line's parallel, and I can feed that in. So I can just gradually tweak it ever so slightly on an angle here so that I match the pencil line and get that beautiful. So you can see just in here we've got a little bit of saw mark, and that area there is where it's been planed. So it's just telling me I want to clean that up just a tad more. So it's just works really well. There you go, she's done. So that's just a way you can also use this. If you're going to do a repeatable angle again and again, you might have an insert that you sit in here which holds it at that particular angle. But in this case, I can just freehand that, and working off my line, just get that working really nicely. But wait, there's more. What about using this as a protective surface to protect the bench or the kitchen table while you're drilling holes? So here's a couple of places I want to drill some holes. Now I will commonly do drilling like this, holding my elbow on there and putting the piece in, and you notice where the eye is. If your eye's in the line of this, you're more likely to get it perpendicular. If your eye's out here, you can't actually see where it's going. So down we go, and I can drill that. Another way of doing it, that's easy enough for me with a long arm, is I can push this up against here, put my cramp on, and that gives me two hands to get that right where I want it. So we have the sacrificial surface here that protects the table or the bench and holds the piece of wood nice and firmly so that I can drill my holes. What a wonderful device, eh? Aren't they fantastic? Two accessories in one. We've got the sawing side, the bench hook, and we've got the planing side, the shooting side, which is on the other side. It's such a versatile thing, can be used in so many different ways. We have these available in our Etsy shop, and they just make sawing and everything a whole lot easier and provide the sacrificial surface, the protection for your bench or your table or whatever it is that you're working on. Enjoy your woodworking. See you in the workshop. Cheers.